I think kind of just to kind of set some expectations as far as kind of how we're going to run the meeting and then what topics we're going to cover. I think first off, it's a small group here, so feel free to, wave your hands to get my attention. Just you can unmute yourself and then shout out if you have questions. You can do that too. You can also take advantage of the hand raise feature in WebEx. So if you haven't done that before, when you mouse over the window, on the right-hand side, you most likely see the participants list. And if you mouse over your name, it'll give you the option to raise your hand. And then that kind of pops up on my screen. Also, feel free to use the chat room. So I got the chat window up there. If you have questions, and maybe it's easier to kind of type it out than it is to go, hey, feel free to type it in there. And if I don't catch it, Bridget or Kate, if you catch anything too, just maybe you're more comfortable yelling at me and saying, stop. And I'm happy to stop and do that. So as far as the topics today, we're going to try to keep this pretty entry level because I know, Julie, you had said you hadn't used it at all. Victoria, have you used it a bunch, a little bit, not at all? Okay, kind of in the middle there. Yeah, that works. We'll go through and I'll try to keep it pretty basic here. And then if you do have kind of some specific questions at the end, we can definitely get those addressed for you. But I want to try to get you enough basics here where it maybe sparks some imagination about how you might be able to use it in your class and want you to get to explore a little bit deeper with it. So the first thing I want to do is just to kind of help you out where you're at. And when we're teaching with this, one of the things that we really like about Explain Everything is it's a completely free form, unlimited canvas digital whiteboard. And so when we're thinking about how do we reach learners when we have maybe 4 in class and then 10 at home, and maybe you don't see everybody every day, um, Explain Everything is a great way. So if we were to think about like a whiteboard, like a traditional in your room whiteboard, and you write on that, at its most basic level, Explain Everything can do all of those different things. Um, it's when I imagine what teaching is going to be like here in Yellow, I'm imagine doing what you guys are doing right now, where you have the computer set up in front of you. And then what I would do to get Explain Everything to use that as a whiteboard in place of using a whiteboard behind me is to take your iPad charge cord. And so this is the same lightning to USB cable that you use to charge your iPad up. If you plug one in into your computer and plug it into your iPad's now hooked up to your computer, and we can make it so we can share our screen in the WebEx session. And so that way kids that are remote can see natively what this looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop here so you see how I'm doing this. And it's probably not going to work on your guys to follow along with me because you're in a meeting ready, but I think you can do these first initials. So I'm going to share my screen. And Julie, give me a thumbs up if you can see my desktop. Got it. Okay. So I have my iPad plugged in. I'm going to double click my hard drive. And now my appearance might look a little bit different than yours, and that's okay. Yours is probably more silver and mine's probably more white. But you'll notice on both off to the side here under locations, it's going to show up with your iPad. And so when I tap on that, the first thing I need to do is it says, okay, do you want to trust this iPad? And that's the security feature so that if somebody walks by and plugs their iPad into your computer, it doesn't automatically copy everything over onto it. But of course, since I plugged this in, I want to click trust. And then what you can't really see yet, so I'm going to hold it up here, is on my iPad, it also popped up with a button that says, okay, this computer is trying to trust you. Do you trust that computer? And so I'm going to hit trust on that. And now my iPad and my computer are in sync. So I don't need to do any of this. I'm going to just go ahead and close out that window. And now I'm going to bring us back into WebEx here. And I'm actually going to share my meeting window. And so this is where it's going to get a little bit inception-y with you because now you can see yourselves as I'm going through it. But what the cool thing is down here on the bottom, so if you see down there, there's the share content button. And when I click on that, I can scroll down and I have an option here that says iPhone or iPad screen. And it's on the bottom right. So when I click that, now it opens up and now everything that I'm doing on my iPad is being shared. And you can see that I have my full control over my iPad. I can pull up websites, everything that I'm doing, the students will be able to see. And I don't think you can see this, but on the teacher side, I see my iPad here, but then in the top right, I also see a grid of all of the participants in the meeting. So as a teacher, if I'm sitting here looking at my screen, having my iPad hooked up, I can look up and see the learners that are in front of me, or I can look off to the side here and I can see the video feeds of all of the people that are joined in with my training. So that way you can kind of keep a visual contact on both face-to-face people and online people. So that's the kind of the first thing I wanted to get us comfortable with was kind of showing you, and again, I'll give you the video on this. You can go back and watch that process a couple different times. But just to summarize, it's plugging your iPad into your computer with the same cord that you use to charge it, opening up your hard drive, clicking on your iPad and clicking trust, and then looking at your actual iPad and then clicking trust on that. And then that will allow you to share your screen during the WebEx meeting. You can also use this process if you wanted to create flipped learning videos for your kids, because the way that WebEx records is if you start a meeting with yourself and it's recording and you share your iPad screen, it's going to capture the iPad screen and everything that you do, and then it's going to superimpose the speaker's video on top of that. So if you're the only person in the meeting because you started it with yourself, it'll put your video onto the iPad screen. So as kids watch the tutorial of, okay, this is how we use Staff Wars, or this is how we go through and use GarageBand, they can see your face on the iPad when they watch that video back later. And so you'll notice when I share this recording with you, it's going to be set up that way too. So that's kind of not explain everything specific, but kind of the first part of kind of this remote teaching gig. Julie, you had a question?
Yes, so I just want to make sure I'm in the right mindset. So not really about explain everything, but if I want to have, let's say I have a keynote presentation that I want to have my face in the screen, that's where you would still connect this way, trust, make
Hmm.
a meeting with myself, share the screen, and then I'll see my little face explaining something as it's on the screen to
Yep,
record it. Okay,
yep. And
thank
I'm
you.
actually going to show you here how you can take a keynote and put it in to explain everything. And then you can use your finger or a stylus to actually annotate and draw on the keynote slides. And then you have that capability too. So, all right, let's that was a lot of setup, but I think it's good because it kind of gets us to the point where we can be a little bit more comfortable using the tools that we have. So I'm going to bend to explain everything and just kind of do a quick walkthrough of what tools are available in it, and then we can talk about maybe some different use cases for it. So if you have, and this is the part where you can kind of follow along. So if you have your iPad with you, Explain EDU should be on there. If not, you can access it from Mosel Manager. So if you just opened up Manager, and um, mine looks different, of course, because I grabbed a shared one. But you go to self-service, and then those apps that are available to you will show up in self-service there. But I happen to have it here already, and so I'll go ahead and launch it. The first screen that you come to here has some different options. You can make a new project, you can share a project. It has some tutorials that you can go through and take a look at by really, really amazing people. And so you can look at those and be inspired. And then, of course, it has the record and remix and draw and these kind of things where you can learn how to take advantage of some of the more advanced capabilities that Explain Everything has to offer, including the ability to find content that other people have made and incorporate it into what you're doing. Down along the bottom, so we have home, and then we have library, and this is where any project that you made gets stored. So this is where it saves it. On the front page, it'll show you kind of a, hey, these are your last 5 projects that you've made, but all of your projects will show up here in the library pane. Learn just takes you again to all of the tutorials and tips and tricks that it has. And then of course, search lets you search for projects that other people might have made or that you might have had shared with you. We don't pay for the version that has collaboration with it because it's a yearly subscription fee. And for what most of our teachers are doing, the pay once and use it version meets all of our needs. So if it says anything about collaborating together or joining from the cloud or saving to the cloud, we just know that we don't have that, but we have the full featured version that you can use locally on your iPad. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on New Project. And this is where I can choose to either start with a blank canvas, use one of the templates, or import a file to write over. The templates are kind of nice. I'll tap into there. Um, these are starting points that you can use with students. And so if I were to tap through on one of them, what you see on here as the preview is what you get in the project. And think of it like a digital worksheet where you can go and kids can fill out those different components of it. For this time, though, I'm just going to do a blank canvas because I just want to get us in and get us started and to be able to take a look at some of the basic tools. The toolbar, you can see here, the tools are arranged on the outer edges of the app with the canvas being in the middle that you can write on. So on the left-hand side, starting from kind of the top to the bottom, we have our insert menu, which is where we can do a lot of different things. We can insert math equations, audio files, we can insert um, PDF files, we can insert videos of ourselves. So this will get a little weird here right now, but I'm going to show you what it looks like. You can actually embed a video into and explain everything. So if you were doing this, excuse me, offline, and you wanted to record a video of yourself, maybe you're singing a line of a song and you want to have a PDF of the sheet music there and a video of you singing that line that the kids can go through. You could do that with this and embed that audio and video together. And so when I tap on video, of course, I hit OK. And now this is a video feed. Oh, great. That is a lovely angle. So I don't even want to look down. All right, we'll look up. You can move this around. And then if I hit the record button, it records video directly into that square, so to speak. And that's independent of any other recording that you might make. I am going to show you the next tool, which is hitting the X and then tapping on it to delete it. And then that gets rid of it. So that's all in the insert menu, and we'll play with this. There's clip art, there's files. So here we have, we can search clip art, dog, clip art of different notes that you could drag over. I could do a half note here, maybe a quarter note, eighth note, 16th note, and I can come over here. And now I can just use my fingers and I can make these bigger or smaller. This would not replace writing out, music on an actual score or staffs, things like that. But you could use this to maybe to do note identification, have kids identify what types of notes these are. You can pre-populate this, and I'll show you in a second how they can record their voice with it and send it back to you. So you could say, here's a really basic rhythm. Can you clap it out and record your video and your audio of you clapping out this rhythm? Or can you go and tell me what type of note this is? Eighth note, 16th note, quarter note, whatever the case might be. The tool under that is the hand tool. And when I tap on the hand tool, that lets me manipulate things that are on the canvas, and I can move that around. The tool below it is the pencil tool. And so I can choose the size and thickness of my pencil. I can choose here marker, pencil, or ruler. We can choose color. So in this case, I have a green pencil. We can maybe make that a little bit smaller, change it to blue. or add an accent to it, whatever the case might be. Then we have a highlighter, where you can see it's kind of transparent and we can highlight things. Of course, we have the eraser, where we can go through and we can erase content. The fill tool will let you fill um, an area that's sealed in. So I was able to seal in that half note. Let me undo that. So, I mean, you can think about how you might use that. The shapes tool lets you add different shapes then that you can manipulate. So you have your basic arrows. Let's see here. Lines, borders, thicknesses, all of those things that you can play with. Text tool lets you add distant labels. That I move around into it. And then the X, like I showed you before, lets you tap on any element that you've added and delete it. So in this case, I can tap on that and delete those two drawings that I did at the same time, or select that and delete it. And then the last of the basic tools here are laser pointers. And so these don't permanently alter the canvas, but they allow you to highlight different parts of it. So I can choose the little bigger black laser, and now I can have my little red laser pointer I can move around. So when we show you recordings, if you had a rhythm set up in here with the notes, you could have a laser pointer as you record, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2. And so you can do the little Disney sing-along bouncing thing with it. And then you have your inspector. And so if you ever get stuck, you can pull up the inspector, and if you wanted to copy and duplicate things, I can tap on that and duplicate all of those different things there. Or if you're sending this to students, if I tap on something and tap on lock and then lock, now that item, even if I tap the hand, can't be moved. It locks it. You can't see my finger moving, but I'm trying to move it and it's not going because it's locked it to the page. So if you were making a worksheet for kids, you could lock all of the elements to that page except for the areas where they needed to draw or to write. So that's kind of the basics of the tools there. They're really simple, but when you combine them together, you can do a lot of really cool things with it. Um, I'm going to pause here for a second. And what questions do you have? Victoria, you're sitting still too long. The lights turned off. What questions might you have about just kind of the basic tools, the inspector, this menu here really has a lot of stuff going on in it.
It looks like you can also like so the barred eighth notes are incorrectly drawn on there. So I would have like you can also upload an image, I'm sure, if I just mess around with it, I'll figure that out. So that way you can have
Yeah, so here
look right.
let's do that real quick. So let me go here. Let me go to my good friend Google. And let's see here. Let's see. I don't know if you guys do, but yeah, I mean, we can take an image. I'm just going to save one. Or here we go. Wikipedia, at least we can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and add to photos. And then I'll switch back over here and I can go insert picture. Oh, where's it? Insert existing image videos, hit OK. And now that shows up in my all photos. And I can take that and then I can insert that picture.
Okay.
So this picture is probably not one that you would use based
Yeah.
on what you're describing, but it's kind of an example of you can take a picture that you have in your camera roll and add that on there.
Okay. Perfect. And then I was gonna ask, is this like are kids familiar with this at all? I was just wondering, like with the, having them record, because I mean if we end up red, this would be really useful for assessments and things. But is
It
this
depends on the age of the student. I know Bridget and I and Kate and Robbie have done a lot of work over the last couple of years showing this to a lot of kids. And I know we still have a lot of new kids that have joining us, and maybe students whose we didn't do it in the didn't do it in their classrooms.
Yeah.
So I think it's one that they're going to have some passing familiarity with, but they might not have kind of that deep understanding. You might have to do some pre-teaching with the
Yeah.
recording feature that I'll show you.
So it kind of seems like it's on the same plane as class kick for that type of an assignment where they see something and they record their voice performing it, that sort of a thing.
Yeah, and the difference would be Class Kick is more streamlined as far as you pushing it out and them receiving it. This would be one
Mhm.
where you'd need to post it to Seesaw or Google Classroom or whatever, depending on their grade level, in order for them to get access to it or email it. It's
Yeah.
not like a synchronous thing.
Yeah. It's not, it is sorry, it is more of a synchronous thing.
No,
No.
Class Kick is more of a synchronous thing. This is a asynchronous where they can work on this on their own and then turn it back into you when they're done.
And so for us, I'm still unclear. I'm not, this is a different topic, but if we're not on like their Seesaw or their Google, is this something we can really, I probably wouldn't use this with K2, but with the older kids, the
Yeah,
main,
Dr. Betts is still working on what the procedure for specialist is as far as sharing with kids.
because I don't want to get like so excited and like do all this stuff and then figure out there's no way for me to, grade their stuff, or I don't know.
There will be a way. We're just working on what the best approach is to,
Sure.
we're trying to balance the technology with overwhelming kids, with overwhelming teachers and overwhelming parents, but also
Yeah.
trying to give capabilities, but keep it simple at the same time.
Yeah.
So we're,
Just all
yeah.
those. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So the next little piece I'll show you is, and we're starting simple and then moving to complex. So that was kind of the simple things of we can draw, we can insert pictures, video, move stuff around and delete stuff. The next level up with it is down on the right-hand corner where we can see an overview of how many slides we have. So the canvas on Explain Everything is absolutely infinite. You can pinch and zoom and keep going out and moving over, and I can draw smileys there, move it over, draw a gold star, move that over, and I can move this around, and this is infinitely expandable. However, it starts to get unwieldy if you have it going all different directions, and kids might not know to scroll. And sometimes you just want different content on, like it's segmented out by pages. So down on the lower right, there's that plus button. And when I hit the plus button, now that makes a new page, or think of it like a new slide in a slideshow. And you can fill in unique content there while still flipping back onto the old one. And I can make as many slides as I'd like and flip back and forth. That's slide 2, back and forth between those, and then I can see a preview of what's on each one of those slides. And what's nice about having things spread out amongst different slides is when you do recordings here, those recordings are attached uniquely to each slide. So if you mess up, it's easier to go back and record over just one slide rather than like having a PowerPoint that you're recording and then it's going all the way through and then you have to go back to the beginning and try to do all of that. This way it's kind of unique per item for you. So I keep mentioning recording, so let's talk about that. The nice piece about this is it has a fairly advanced recording functionality, including an editor in it for the video that you record. And it's the big red button on the bottom. And when I hit the big red button, it's going to record absolutely everything that I say, I do, and that happens on the slide. So I could go here and I can do a laser pointer and say, okay, let's identify this note. What type of note is this? This is a quarter note, or these are 16th notes, or this is an eighth note. And I can be talking about that. I can also be going through adjusting the canvas and saying, hello class, today we're going to go through 2 plus 2. So I need you to think of how we can solve 2 plus 2. So I have 2 lines here, 2 lines here. 1, 2, 3, 4 equals 4. If I hit the button, I click through and it shows me an edit here. And I see on the bottom is my auto. So kind of the waveform of the odd. And then on the top line shows the markings or any activity that I did on the canvas. And so I can do things using these buttons here of, okay, let's say I don't like that laser pointer piece right there. I can tap on that and hit the trash. Let me see, where is that? And I should be able to trim it and trash it. Oh, yep, I did the whole thing there. Let's undo. There we go. I can play that from there. I don't think you guys are hearing any sound. Are you on your end? Yeah, so I don't think the sound is going with it because I think we have it running through the computer, but that's okay. You can imagine what I sound like. I could lock a track. I can go through and I can split it here. And then I can go and delete from here on. If I wanted to go back, delete all from here and go back and redo just that part, I can go through and do that. So it does give you a little bit of editing tools. And then of course, if I go to the next page, I start fresh and I can record here. So I could say, all right, today we're going to be taking a look at a quick rhythm for you. So we're going to have, and so let's take a look here. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. And that did not get that all the way right, but that's all right. You can understand and pretend that I could actually keep to what should be in a measure. I was pretending to be in 4/4, but that's all right. So you have that there and you can look at it. And then if I go back and play this from here, it literally is capturing everything you do. So this is the advantage. Even if all you do is write on here, by recording it as you're writing it, kids can see that thought process get developed. And they can't do that if you're writing on just a regular whiteboard. If you take a picture of that and share it, they just see the end product. This way they can actually see you go and do it and then have that voiceover with it. And if you choose to flip it with the kids, you might set something up here like, let's see, write out a rhythm. And of course, this is all being recorded, so you can see my spelling again and again. That's all right. Um,
Still have issues spelling rhythm too. It's fine.
Thank you. Or 4, and then maybe do like 3 bars worth. And so you could have the directions posted there. I'll erase that 3. And then maybe you say, okay, and maybe you go through and you find a picture of a staff that you could do. Or I could just even draw this out here. Pull up this. And so now I have a ruler if I wanted to make a straight line. Right, something like that. Right, 5 lines. Been a while. Um, and so I could send this to students and I could say, okay, here's your assignment. What I want you to do now is for you to click the record button, and I want to hear you talk me through what it's like to do 3 bars in common time with your rhythm. And so they just get this blank slate and they would have to go in, select the pencil, maybe choose a different color, and then go through and do it. So maybe I'll say, pretend I'm the kid, all right? All right, Miss Matheson, today I'm going to draw you my favorite rhythm. And so it is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. That's my favorite rhythm. Now I'm going to clap it for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. And then they can stop that. And then they have that recorded, and you can go through, and when they send you this file, because they verbalized it as they were writing it, you have them thinking about it, they're hearing it, drawing it, and if they go off anywhere, you know exactly where they deviated. Did they not understand, how many beats in a bar? Did they not understand, how to count? All that kind of stuff you could see right from this. And so that audio file gets embedded with it. So then how do they get this back to you? So up in the top right, there's the share button. And when they tap on the share button, you get these different options to export. So just to kind of run through them, video will export the whole Explain Everything as a video file. So it'll be like a QuickTime file. You don't get to see the things like the editing buttons and that kind of stuff. It'll take their audio and whatever recordings they've done as the video, combine them together, and then send it to you. A document, when you do that one, it's going to save it just as a PDF. So that strips out all of the video, all of the audio, and it's just a flat file. An image is the same thing, only it's like a PNG file or a JPEG file. The last one, though, is what's interesting, because when you choose project, this actually sends it as an Explain Everything project to you, which means it's fully editable. So if you were making an assignment up for students, you would probably send it to them as this Explain Everything file, because that then lets them interact with it. And if they were sending it back to you and you wanted to be able to see the recording pieces, like where they were going through it, if they send it to you as a file, you get the full editing capabilities and you can go back and see where they stopped and started and things like that. So for you to give it to them, always use project. For them to give it back to you, either project or video should work. And then, so I'm going to hit project here, and let me get them out here. And then I can choose from here. What I would probably recommend is this one that says save to files, because that's going to save it to your iPad. And then from there, you have free reign of using whatever service you want. So if it's in files on your iPad, you can post it to Seesaw, post it to Google Classroom, upload it to Google Drive and share it that way, airdrop it if they're face-to-face. You have the full flexibility of the iPad. So when I tap Save to Files, it might take a little bit. If you save it to your iCloud Drive, if you're signed in to both your iPad and your Mac with that managed Apple ID, that same one, this will automatically save that over to your Mac. And if you're more comfortable posting it and sharing it from your Mac, you can do it there. I know sometimes as we're getting used to iPads and stuff, people are more comfortable with one platform or the other. Save it to iCloud, it gets synced over automatically. And so I have, and so I can show you that. So I'm going to choose desktop. And I hit save. And now let's see here. It might take a little bit because it's downloading a whole lot. But look here, if I look at files, I come down to my desktop. Okay, still uploading. So if you know there's that little triangle next to the name there, that means it's still updating, and so it won't show on my desktop until that finishes. Let me come back here, see if, so we'll let that work for a little bit, and we'll come back to that at the end. So that's the sharing piece and the recording piece. So what questions do you have, or how do you think that might be helpful for you to use going forward?
Um, Once we figure out how to, accept work from students with the complication there, I could definitely see that being useful. I had a question just for earlier use before we figure that out. If I wanted to just create a doc just for practice, not a doc, sorry, what do you call this?
Explain everything
Explain
file, yeah.
everything. Sorry. If I wanted to create one just for like review content, nothing that I want to actually collect yet, but just, beginning stages review, is it possible to, like, if I have my own district website for music, is it possible to make it into a link that I can put on that Google site, or is that not, it has to be like Classroom or something?
Oh, no, so that file that you exported here,
Mm-hmm.
that whiteboard file, you can post that anywhere.
So I can insert that just into a Google site.
Yep, and you could, if you're going to do it on the web, it might be easier to export it as a video, and
Okay.
I'll save that to files too, because that way the video can be played and you can upload it to YouTube, put it in Google Drive, and it's going to play through with the recordings that are present in that file. So we'll let it prepare here. And depending on the size of it, it may take
You have that.
may take a little bit longer.
Okay.
I was sitting over at West Campus today, and it did to me as well. It was like turning off because everything's too still, working on stuff.
One of the
Well,
benefits
this is
of
almost done.
instruction.
Yeah.
Oh, while we're waiting for this, if you just wanted to use it with kids as a basic whiteboard feature, do you know if they
Mm-hmm.
can split screen this app with WebEx?
Yeah. Yep. So WebEx on the iPad. So multitasking. So if I have my WebEx meeting open here, will allow. I'm not signed in, but yeah, explain everything. We can pull up here and do side by side.
The kids could do that, so they could still see me
Yep.
teaching live and okay, cool.
So one of the good and bad things, good because it's a security thing, bad because it's annoying. When a video conferencing app, no matter what video conferencing app it is, except for Apple's own FaceTime, whether it's WebEx, Zoom, Google Meet, whatever, when any of those are not the only app on the screen, it cuts the kid's video. Because what Apple has told us is it's for security, because if it's in the background and the kid doesn't realize, or a user doesn't realize that meeting's still going, all of a sudden there's no indication on the iPad that thing is accessing the camera in the background. And so it cuts that video just so nothing gets displayed. So they can totally go here, have WebEx meetings running in the background. When they close out of it, like just like that, and go in to explain everything, that audio stays connected. So they can listen to you and they can be talking to you. You just can't see them and they can't see you, but they can still interact and you have that audio file still going.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep. And so I went and saved that as a whiteboard file. I'm going to close out of my iPad and switch back to my Mac here because I want to show you on my desktop, it already synced up. And so here was that movie. And let me share this here a little bit. Motion and video. I'll do that later. So here I'll share this QuickTime. Yeah, and so I jumped ahead in there. But yeah, so that's what it looks like when you export it as a video. And that was an example too of how I saved that to the iCloud Drive on my iPad, and it went and it uploaded it automatically to my desktop on my Mac.
So then before you would put that on your website, you would have to then convert it to a YouTube first?
You can do however you'd want. So you can put it in a Google Drive file and share the link there. You can upload it to
Oh,
YouTube
okay.
and share the YouTube link there.
Okay.
Depending on the size of it, you could upload it directly to your Seesaw. I don't know what limits there
Sure.
are for kind of the size of the file. But
Okay.
yeah, then it's just a basic video that you have on your computer, and you can share that anywhere you could share a video.
Got it.
Great questions. I had one other piece I wanted to show you, and that was kind of the use case of, let's say you have a keynote already prepared and you wanted to do some markups and drawing and having your piece on a keynote. So I happen to have a keynote together here, and let's say I'm in a remote session and I want to be to mark. There's not a lot of animation, so they don't have animation as content, but I'd be able to draw, use that as a pointer, and then it record and casted kids that are not here. Well, I can move this into explore everything. So I can put three dots and go export. And then for this one, I'm going to choose PDF. Now, the bad thing with PDF is that it strips out all of the animations with it. Good news is with a PDF, it's really easy to import into everything else. So it's a trade-off. You know, do you need the animations and the sound effects, or can we add those later on? So I'm going to just do PDF here, and I'm going to do 1 page per slide. We'll export that. And then I'm going to just go ahead and save this. I guess we could do two ways. So the first way, we could click share to explain everything, and that will send it directly to explain everything. Or I can save it to my files and then bring it in to explain everything. I'll show you both here. So first I'm going to save it to my files. And then I'm going to do that again, and we're going to see what happens when I click on sending directly to explain everything. That way we can see what it looks like both ways. So we'll copy to explain everything. And it pops up, it says, you have 46 slides. How would you like us to bring these in? I can do separate slides, which is what I probably want to do, right? That's going to make a new slide for each slide. So it's like moving it from here, lifting it, laying it down there. Or I can have them all added to just one slide and then flick off the ones that I don't need. With 46 odd slides, that's probably going to be a little much. I don't think I want to actually do that. So I'm going to hit separate slides, and then I'm going to go to insert. And oh, it looked like it added it to this one. Okay, so instead of making a new one, I had it add to my existing one, which is probably not what you want. So let me back out of there. Let me close without saving changes. And let's do that again to figure out where we went wrong. So I'm going to hit copy to explain everything. All right, so we want separate slides. There we go, that made us a new one. So you'll notice that down here, each one of those keynote slides is now an explain everything slide. And so I can go back and forth from here with it. Since it's an explain everything slide, I have the full capabilities of explain everything. I can shrink that slide down a little bit. I can rotate it, angle it. I can go in and select the pencil or maybe the highlighter. And as I'm going through, highlight items, I can use the laser pointer for you. I can even do things like add files on top of there. So maybe I wanted to go in and add a clip art and say, smiley. frowny. And then I can use these off to the side here. And then maybe if I'm giving a presentation, how fast can I make these things? Let's talk about good ideas and bad ideas. Bad idea is strapping a jet engine to an ox cart. Very bad idea. What would be the good idea? Let's find out. Good idea is don't be a prisoner to yesterday's thinking. So when you're giving it, it just gives you a little bit more manipulatives that you can add onto the slides and move around. And of course, if I would have hit that record button, it would have recorded everything that I did. And then I could play that back and then save this as a movie file and share it with all of my kids. The other way that you can, we'll save and close, import things into it is hit new. I can go new from files, choose files, and then take a look here. So that was, I saved it to my desktop. And then let's see, where is it here? Tap on that, and it gives me the same options. Only this way, I'm kind of starting from fresh in the beginning. This lock pages on the bottom, I was able to, make the page bigger and smaller by pinching it. If I were to tap lock pages, now I can't, I'm trying to do that with my fingers. I can't shrink and make that bigger. That means I also can't add things from outside of the frame into it. So you have to decide if that's what you want or if you'd like it to be able to manipulate. But I can go through and, all right, hey, do you need help? Oh, and then it crashes. That's okay, we can pop back into it. Hey, do you need help in your building? If so, here's how you get help. If you're in a secondary building, at the high school, email there. At the middle school, email there. Oh, are you at an elementary building? Well, if you're at Oakdale, Paddock, Prairie, Rockbrook, Westgate, or any of these other ones, then you should email Tyler Help. Then if I go back and play that, all the toolbars disappear, and then things that I do show up on that. So that's a couple different ways to get content from like a keynote or a PowerPoint into Explain Everything to allow you to add animations, record your voice with it, add extra clip art, highlight, laser pointers, things like that.